fantastic show lineup for you today. Matter of fact, we have Dr. Annie B. Wilder. She's not only a teacher, but she's a trainer, counselor, consultant, and yes, an author. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you so much.
All right, glad that you came with us today.
Appreciate it.
We have a few questions lined up for you.
Okay.
Number one, what is the name of your business?
My business is called Uncommon Counseling, LLC, with a tagline of Unmasking the Inner You.
Ah, very good. I'm not going to be unmasked today, are we? Right. Now, two, what is the message of your tagline, Unmasking the Inner You?
Mm-hmm. The thing is, it's all about helping individuals get down to the root cause of much of their stress, anxiety, and really loss of themselves. In many cases that they never found themselves, okay? Because in life, we are always trying to measure up to other people or get our direction as to who we are or who we should be from other people, and we just get lost. Okay, and it causes much disruption, not only in the individual themselves, but in relationships, okay, employment, all across the whole gamut of life. So that's what Unmasking, that's the tagline. The whole point is, it's not just, the run-a-day counseling, as I said, uncommon counseling, okay? It is getting down to the root cause of things, because once we get there, usually people can begin to blossom.
You know, I said it to I have a client on the business side, and they're a counselor, and I think it might be psychology or they're a therapist. Anyways, I went into their office to talk with him, and when I sat down, they said, "Tell me about your father." We cracked up about that, but it sounds like you have a program that's really going to benefit people, right, in a very positive way. Now, when did you start your business?
I actually established my business in 2009. Yes, okay. I was doing this work all before, but that's when I got my PhD in January of 2009, and from then in March, I actually launched the business.
Okay. Now, what made you decide to get involved in this type of work?
Well, like I said, I was doing this all along. I have another friend that's in the field that has listened to me for a while, and she says, "You were doing this when you were a kid. You were doing this as a teenager." Because most of my life, people would come to me with their situations, okay, and tell me their secrets and everything. And so I kind of chuckled when she picked that up, to say, "Hey, you've been doing this all along."
Fantastic. Now, what was your professional background before establishing your counseling practice?
Oh, mainly I was an industrial engineer, as I was telling people recently, right here in Bridgeport. I worked down the road at Bryant Electric, started off with Bryant Electric, and then went to Hubbell, okay, as an industrial engineer. So for almost 30 years, that's exactly what I worked at, whether one company call it industrial engineer, others call it manufacturing engineering, but my degree is in industrial engineering.
Interesting. So that's a different step, so to speak, from what you were doing for 30 years.
Well, that's the same response I get from a lot of people. They say, "How did you move from here to here?" Okay? To me, all along, both involve people. Both involve solving problems. Okay? And that's the main part here, interacting with people and being able to listen and solve. Well, there it was actually the job was to solve problems. This is more or less helping people to solve the problem. More the listening and getting their trust and being able to guide them through to the solutions. Because many times, what I'm doing now is many times if I can just get the people talking, which isn't hard for me. Most times they talk themselves right into the answer. Yeah, just providing that environment many times. So my job is to guide them. But how did I get from here to here? I think it was just a natural transition, pretty much, for me.
Very good, very good. Now, you're talking about engineering background. you must have enjoyed math, or at least did a lot of math right, for that, which is unusual for women. Women usually don't like math for the most part. So this is really fantastic.
I always liked math. My undergraduate degree was in mathematics. And then I got my master's in industrial engineering. And then a second master's in community psychology. So all of it was like a building, you know, even without realizing the direction I was going. But it was just a constant building and going forward, the same thing.
That's fabulous. Now, what is your goal or mission in your business?
Pretty much what I've described, and that is through multifaceted services, help individuals to tap into who they really are and to identify the reasons for stress and anxiety in their lives. Most importantly, to become empowered, okay, and self-awareness. Those are big issues for me. So many people really just not aware of who they really are. They've gotten lost.
Yeah, it's unfortunate today.
It is, and our society is saying it. I mean, we have an epidemic of suicide, you know, feeling hopeless, no purpose and everything. So it's right in line with what my goals are, you know, and what I help individuals do. Come from that edge of despair. Pull them back from that edge of hopelessness and feeling helpless and like life is over for them. Yeah.
We drop off our granddaughter every morning, well actually Monday through Thursdays. And this morning I noticed my granddaughter had a little report and it asked about bullying. And she's in 5th grade, and they're discussing that in 5th grade. And many people, or actually the youth, has some challenges with that, and it causes all kind of self-esteem problems and things of that nature. All right, unfortunately. Now, what services do you offer?
Well, I do private counseling. Okay, I do what I call what is identified as therapy, temperament therapy, wherein actually I can bring people in and do this work, you know, identify their temperaments through a profile that I have, and then I turn around and teach them. And in other words, teach them this is what you were really created for, and the thing, you know, your inborn traits, all right? And then listening to them, and we're working together, we begin to identify where they've strayed off course, which is what's causing the trouble. So I do that, and I do that for all levels of individuals, you know, professionals, bankers, social workers, other nonprofits, you know, so I can do that on an individual basis, or I tailor a program sometimes to go in to do group, okay? I also do a lot of work with death and grief therapy, okay, and pastoral care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you know, we've talked before, and I noticed that you have seems like your main audience is women, but do you also cater to men?
I do. I do. There are some men that have availed themselves of my services, many times through their mates, okay? But I have, and more when I go out and speak in mixed congregations.
Okay. Excellent.
But I'm not limited to women.
Excellent. So you don't discriminate.
I do not. I do not.
Very good.
Do not.
Now, what are the areas of your training certificates?
Well, I think mainly the ones that I just enumerated a little while ago, and that was death and grief therapy, okay, crisis and abuse therapy, as you know, that's a big area for me, okay, cognitive therapy, the temperament therapy, and the pastoral care. Those are the areas that I have certification in, although I am a licensed clinical Christian counselor. But those are advanced certifications that I have.
Yes. Yeah, because unfortunately a lot of people have various issues. You know, when it comes to women, when I saw that movie Precious, that was the first time that my eyes were open to the challenge that women go through. And it was interesting because after you see the movie, there's some credits afterwards, and the director is talking about how, in order to get that one girl to play that part, he had to go through 1,000 women who had not experienced, because otherwise that person probably had flashbacks and all kinds of things.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So it's very serious.
It's a serious matter, and all the layers that are underneath it. You know, again, because people deal with everything's up front, but then it's just going to keep reoccurring unless you can just peel back those layers, as, you know, people talk about like an onion.
Right.
The first part is, hey, you know, excited, something happened today, you know, I got some relief. But when it starts getting down to the deeper areas, it's harder to pull back those layers. Okay? So it's very important. The environment is important. You know, that you can manage to get individuals in, that they can find themselves in a trusting environment. And that's what I find. I find that when I get them in an environment, okay, and they begin to trust, the situations just begin to come forth. You know, and they're shocked.
Yes.
I'm not shocked, but they're shocked.
Right,
you know,
right.
I never planned to say that. Oh my God. You know. And I'm saying you're blessed, you know.
Yes. What I found is that people have those issues sometimes because it's so pent up in them. When you're having a regular conversation with them, they see it totally different than what is coming out of your mouth. They read it differently. Have you noticed that?
Well, it depends, yeah. I deal with that a lot. I call it the distance between communication. You know, and more, especially with couples, with everybody, but couples, even my son and myself, you know, everybody. I always say communication, as we know, that's one of the main problems with marriages and relationships, why they fall apart, right?
Right.
Communication and money.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, so the point is, you know, you say something to me and you think that I understand, but I'm filtering that through my background and where I am.
Yes.
And unless you're well enough to hear me and allow me to ask you the question, well, what did that mean? You know, then going back and forth, we can come on the same wavelength.
Right.
But many times the relationships aren't well enough that if I ask that question, the other person take it personally
Right.
and feel like that I'm assaulting them.
Exactly. That's what happens most often, unfortunately. Good. Now, you mentioned something about temperament therapy. What is that actually?
Temperament, we're actually born with purpose, and we're actually born with areas that identify our socialization and association. That's public, okay? Areas of how we respond to control or make decisions, okay? Both respond and take on that responsibility. And also the emotional area. Who do I look to for approval, acceptance, you know, and love, all right? We're born with those areas in us already identified,
Right.
okay? But the minute we come forth out the womb, we begin to interact with the environment, the nurse, the doctor, the caregivers, and so forth. And then we go forward to an area which the world identifies as personality. That's when the masks come on. Personality being, what do I need to do to fit into society? You know?
Right.
How do I dress? How do I act? How do I respond? And the world considers it personality. But you can only wear a mask so long. You know, after a while, you get tired, and it comes off, okay? And that's when trouble begins to really, roll over. So temperament helps me to identify what your inborn traits were, bring the person in, and begin to teach them. And usually just in that teaching, much healing takes place, you know, because otherwise they're busy trying to line up with what other people want them to do.
Right.
And it's completely off scale of what they have naturally.
You know, that's interesting you say that. That's an interesting to look at it, because I notice in dealing with in business and with people that usually by age 50, 55, people start taking off their masks. And they start saying what's on their mind, all right, and they don't care at that point. They've dealt with it for so long. But that's an interesting point about unmasking.
Well, that work takes me into, like I said, businesses, to help businesses identify. So long, you have a good workforce, but you have people in the wrong places. So you're not benefiting from the talents and the skills that you have. And the one I like to use most is, you replace a person on the line, and we don't probably not have a lot of them anymore, but as a receptionist, having to answer the phone. And this is a person, basically, their inborn traits are such that I like working in the back, in the corner, isolated. Put me on a computer, give me to do data collection and so forth. I just glow, But put them up front, they're so unhappy. And we know what results from that, less productivity. So I can come into businesses. I do this study of individuals. I can either do it before you hire somebody, your potential employee, or take your workforce as it is.
It's like a personality profile.
Exactly. You call it personality, I call it temperament, but I know the world relates to it more as personality. So we'll call it that. But the bottom line, I get to what really makes them tick, and the best place to station a person.
Well, that's funny because, being the host, this was not my something I chose. I was planning on being in the background, fooling around with the instruments and the video, and here I am at the host. So hopefully I'm pretty decent at it, I hope.
Okay, but see, that's the whole point. In life, many times, depending on the temperament, we try to back up. Wherein, hey, maybe your temperament really wasn't back there, but because a portion of one area, maybe fear, apprehension, you'd rather try to hide out. But indeed, that's not your best place. So if I can help you identify your best place, and then we work through the barriers to get you there, then everybody benefits, and you're happier.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Well, that sounds like that would be good for people in business, as far as
most definitely,
where they are good in their own business. It helps them to excel, right, to where they need to be.
Exactly.
Now, can you give some more example of how temperament therapy helps you in the workforce? A little bit more?
Well, again, right away, what it does is going back to uncommon counseling. Because of this, my being able to use temperament, I can get to the problem with people that come to me much faster. Because I can identify already, whether I have a person that comes in and the minute they walk through the door, they're just talk. Okay? I know how to flow with them better. And then we begin to work in that area. You follow?
Yes.
But yet I have somebody come that, you got to pull everything out of, okay? So that's how it helps. It helps when I go out, because when I'm even in doing a workshop or a seminar, the whole group that's there, I can usually pick out.
Gotcha.
And know how to flow with each one and how to help them in a roundabout way. I mean, they bring me in for one thing, but they always get more than what they brought me in for because of their skill.
That's fantastic. Now, can you give some examples of how temperament therapy has actually helped your clients?
One that's really big is that I get clients that come to me because we talk about domestic violence, abuse, and so forth, that people have really lost their voice altogether, okay? And by me identifying their true temperament, I know that they have so much more going for them. But they've lost their voice. So I have to work with them to first get them to the point to come back to recognize they have a voice. And after that, then they can begin to blossom. And I have examples of it. I have clients that I'm so proud of and so grateful, for the work that they've managed to work through and move from that point when they came to me, they had no voice of their own. Nothing that came out of their mouth was their own thought. It was always that abuser's thought. But then to walk with them till now they're holding down really good jobs.
That's fantastic. Now, we mentioned earlier, you're a teacher, trainer, consultant, but also you're an author.
Yes.
So when did you become a published author?
2012. I published my first book, On the Other Side of Bitter, a look into Naomi's heart, okay, where I took a biblical story and reached back there and found that woman that ordinarily people probably would ignore, just like somebody that's sitting next to us all the time, and we don't recognize that they're hurting so badly, okay?
Yes.
And then I brought it forth to show that, first of all, the Bible is applicable to life, okay? And then to bring that out, that here's a person that was hurting so badly, okay, that she herself didn't even want to carry her name, okay? You know, we know people get angry, you know, that to change my name, but she herself said, don't call me my name, which means pleasant, anymore. I'm bitter, I'm hurt. You know, and I walked through that whole series and apply it to life examples.
Now, that was one of your books. What other titles do you have?
I have a second book that's called, this is mine that just came out a year ago now, Interrupted to Be, capital B-E, okay? And it's a shepherd boy's journey to kingship. And on the same premise, okay, that B means our everyday existence, who we are, okay? And sometimes life has to be interrupted. But usually when interruptions come, whether it's a loss of job, a divorce, or various situations that happen in life, again, we begin to feel like, hey, life is over, I don't have any purpose, you know, what's the use in going on? Well, many times that's a catalyst to you coming to a point of being who you really are.
Yes.
You know, we walk through those steps.
Now, you're a published author. Where can your books be purchased?
My books are available on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, online distributors, as well as you can go to my website, uncommoncounselingllc.com, and order them.
Now, where's your business located at? Yes.
I'm located in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, but I travel all over. So if someone wants to schedule a workshop or seminar or any of those type things, call me and we can make the plans.
Okay. Now, you mentioned a website, but also where are other places that you can be reached for counseling, appointment, book a workshop, seminar, or conference speaker or consultation services? Where can they reach you?
Give me a call. Okay. Again, my website, uncommoncounselingllc.com, or my number is 860-227-1160.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, for our businesses out there, you know, you mentioned some of your successes. What are some of the challenges that you've had in business that you have to deal with?
Getting more business.
All right. And what did you do to resolve that to some degree?
Well, again, word of mouth is my biggest ally. Okay, word of mouth, and moving out of my area of comfort zone, you know, my fear, and making phone calls. Okay, go and introduce myself to people. Okay, and just learning to just relax and be who I am.
Excellent, excellent.
That's how I got here, isn't it?
That's right. It sure is. It sure is. Now, what is the what would you say your most outstanding success that you've had in your business life?
In my overall business life, or
with what you're doing here?
what I'm doing now, I think again is women mainly who have come to me broken, hurt, and to see them now thriving. You know, I just get so excited with that and even choked up sometimes. I had gone back to pull out some testimonials, and I started reading it, and I realized, don't read this anymore, because you're going to break down before you get to the interview, you know.
Yes.
But ministry, I had ministers who would say, once I worked with them, and they've said, you saved my life. Because they were at that point, they didn't understand what was going on in their lives. They didn't understand why they acted or reacted the way they were. okay? And when I came along with the temperament and gave them to see, this is who you are, and you're trying to work in an area that's not suited for you. You know, and yes, many of us, we are working in areas that are not suited for us many times, and there's a way around that. So after identifying these things, then we work on how do we get past this. Sometimes it's simple as getting somebody else to come alongside of you.
Right.
You know? So those kind of things, you know, that marriages are working and various things like that. Again, it traces life, real life applications when you start. People have read that book and they've called me saying, I cried because it just touched me so deeply. It was me.
Yes.
Okay? And that just blesses me because that's the whole purpose, you know, for people to be encouraged to know that, yes, bad things happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was meant for your detriment.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's to pull out some of those things we talked about earlier.
Right.
For us to identify some of those things that are hidden back there that we need to address in order to go forward.
Right, to become a better person.
Yeah.
And how about this book here?
Oh, this was my first one, and I tell you, I was so excited. I was thankful to God, first of all, that I managed to get it out.